Question. We're going to start with Paul and work our way down. And Paul, ask a question of any one of the other candidates.
Well, I've done this at one other forum. I think I have to ask it again, which is...
First of all, identify who the question is for.
The question is for ADEENA. Now, we've done a dozen or so of these forums, and every one of them, you mentioned Bob Hertzberg, whose campaign you worked on.
You mentioned him yet today.
Okay, not yet. But you never mentioned Jack Weiss as the council member that you worked for.
The question is,
why do you not mention Jack Weiss?
And remember, there's a 30-second, wait, I forgot what that is. No, it's 30 seconds for the question because we're trying to make sure that we don't have speeches. And then 1 minute for the response. Respond, please.
I don't mention that I worked in Jack Weiss's office because I'm not in the business of putting his name on all of my mailers when he's running for city attorney. Also, I am my own person, I have my own vision, I have my own ideas for what I want to see for this district. So, I don't understand why it bothers you.
Okay, ADEENA, please ask a question and identify first who it is to.
This is going to come to Paul. We're going to be like, who's that, Kathy Lee and, what's his name? Regis, here it is. Okay, so what I want to ask you, since you were talking about the things that I talk about at other forums, is you talk oftentimes about imagine a city with no potholes, imagine a city with no problems, and you refer to West Hollywood and all your experience in West Hollywood, but the city of LA is 469 square miles, and West Hollywood is 1.9 square miles. So how are you going to balance that?
Thank you.
Well, I think you do the same thing, but you do it 100 times more. Essentially, West Hollywood has done a good job of painting out graffiti because of a program I created. So the entire city is patrolled frequently. They find the graffiti, they match it, you never know it was there, and when you paint out graffiti quickly, it disappears. This is a city where there are very few potholes. You're not going to see what you see in Los Angeles with some of these streets with a huge number of potholes. And you have a city that has a surplus that would be the envy of most cities in California. I believe it's currently more than a 1-year surplus. So the equivalent in Los Angeles would be $8 billion surplus instead of 400 million or so shortage. Now it is easier to do in a smaller city, but I don't think it's the scale, I think it's how a city is run. There are plenty of cities our size that are run poorly, are in the red, have corruption. This is a city that's clean both politically and environmentally, and I'm very proud of that.
Thank you. Ron?
Well, since we're at this table, I'm going to ask ADEENA a question.
Now, of course, there's a whole psychology here of who gets the questions. Try to figure out what the psychology is. But anyway.
It is an interesting one, isn't it? My question is, we know that the greatest problem that we face in this city right now is a looming budget deficit, the fact that we misspend our money, and the fact that we don't know where our money is coming from and where it's going. Can you explain what your understanding is of our collection practices, of collecting money in the city of Los Angeles, 1.1 billion uncollected at this point, what your understanding is also of what we should do to improve those collection practices specifically. Thank you.
Well, as everybody knows, right now we have a serious problem with it's projected a $1.1 billion that hasn't been collected in taxes of a variety of different levels. And when asked how they were collecting it, the city council couldn't really come up with a good answer other than to say we're going to create a department of a collection sheriff. So before that, we were collecting it through a private service, which I'm blanking on the name of the company, but it's one company. And I think, Ron, you've actually, talked about the fact that we should make it competitive and possibly have other companies do it as well versus just one, so they're not motivated to do it. So I would say right now we are not doing a good job when we only have one company trying to collect and a city council that has no idea why they weren't able to collect the money.
Thank you. Robert?
Isn't this fun? Okay.
Who's the question directed to?
You know, I can address this to pretty much anybody up here, but as the one campaign that is not contributing to the blight of billboards by putting yard signs all over the city.
What is the, to who is the question
I'm going to
directed?
address this to Ty. Over the last David, I'm sorry. Over the last 2 months, everybody's spoken out forcefully about billboard blight. Yet, as I drive around this district, I see yard signs from all of you illegally posted, and Ty, you're the question here, on public areas.
Okay.
So the question is this: will you commit to having your campaign workers go through the district, take down all the illegally posted signs in the next 24 hours, or agree that you'll pay a fine or drop out of the race?
Well, obviously you knew these questions were coming, so you told us. Well, yeah, I know you obviously prepared one. You know, Robert, I'll drive with you after this forum, and if you can show me that any of my signs, you know, here's the interesting thing. When I got into this race, I pledged not to take any developers' money, special interest money, billboard money, because you guys deserve that. I had 900 signs up, 400 have been stolen. But as far as I know, I will go with Robert today, and they're all on private lawns. I will go with you tonight, and for every sign that you find on the right of way, I'll donate $100 to the SOHA.
We're going to be out very late.
Okay, we need, Matt Epstein is going to be the sheriff for SOHA. Matt Epstein will report back at the next meeting as to what happened. Okay, David?
Oh,
You have a question? Question to who? Whom?
Actually, I'll go back to Robert. So you do see the psychology of this. But, you know, Robert, you've spoken a lot about balancing developers' interests against residents' interests. As you know from my constituent Bill of Rights, I promise never to meet with the developer unless the local representatives of the homeowner groups are there, because they deserve no less. You've said that you never would put the two together, because that's like putting tar and oil or something.
Thank you.
So the question is, do you still agree that you should meet with the residents and the developers together?
No, it's foolish. And I'll tell you why. 30 years of experience tells me, and anyone who's ever been in business tells you, that you don't put the two sides together to work out the compromise up front. You meet with each, find out what each issue is. You don't establish an adversarial relationship up front where a subpoena is ready to come out of somebody's pocket. The key to move this city forward is to find common ground and consensus. That's what I'm going to bring to the council.
Robin? Who's the question to?
It actually could go to any of the folks up here.
Who would you like it to go?
So let me think. Okay.
You're taking your 30 seconds.
Okay, I'm taking my 30 seconds. Okay, Robert.
Robert, okay.
I've spent my life working to elect people who share my values. What is the last campaign that you volunteered on and went out and championed on behalf of a leader that got elected?
Hillary Clinton.
Okay.